This person with the Four of Cups is like, where have you been my whole life? You are the type of person that I have been looking to meet. I have been searching for in vain up to this point in time. And now that we've connected, you have totally captivated me. You've got my full attention, my full and undivided attention. This is somebody that if they had other people that they were like talking to, other possibilities in romance, maybe people from the past that they're like, maybe they'll resurface, maybe we'll work things out. You have totally outshined all of that competition, all of those other individuals. It's like nobody that is in their immediate proximity or that has been a romantic possibility currently or in a very long time brings to the table the full essence of who and what you are as a person. So this is somebody that it feels like at this point in time is kind of like actively trying to sort of read between the lines of what it is you're saying, actions that you are taking in order to be able to anticipate sort of how do you need me to show up for you? What's the pace and tone that you want for us moving forward? Not in a way that they're trying to kind of like learn you to manipulate you, but there's a sense of like they don't want to come on too strong if that's not what you're looking for, but they also don't want to be somebody that like holds back and gives the connection time to develop if you're at a place in your life where like you need some immediate reassurances, you need things that are progressing at kind of a rapid rate in order to know for yourself or to be able to decide for yourself, is this worth my while? Is this somebody that truly kind of like wants to build something, or is this somebody that is just looking for someone to chat with because they're bored or lonely? We also have the Emperor. So it feels like this person, if you're going to give them the green light to progress forward towards you, to try to establish more of a connection with you, to even hold space for you to kind of just do your thing, other things that you may be focusing on in your life at this particular point in time, that this person is very much like, hey, spread your wings and fly. You know how to reach me. You know where I am. I don't want to hold you back. I don't want to limit you. I don't want you to feel that like you have to kind of open your heart to a connection only for that connection to be some sort of a cage. This person, it feels like, really values, like one of the love languages that they bring to the table is support of their partner. So that could be like material support. This could definitely be somebody that's got like a provider mindset. They're not somebody that's like, hey, we got to go 50-50 and you got to pull your weight. This is definitely somebody that, they are able and willing to step up to the plate for people that they care about. This could be somebody that is very successful, they're very established, they could be a business owner, and it's kind of like, I got you. I can at least kind of like, treat you to dates. I can pay when we go out. I don't expect you to kind of like do all that heavy lifting. Beyond kind of just finances and material though, it feels like this is somebody that one of the love languages is support, is kind of like speaking life into their partners, encouraging their ventures and their endeavors, offering like constructive criticism, but also being that kind of like voice of celebration, in terms of like, especially if you're somebody that has something going on in your life right now where you're trying to like take the next step forward in your career, you're working on long-term goals, this person almost sees or anticipates, hey, maybe, the world is like a tough enough critic upon you. So the way in which I can show up and kind of serve you in this connection is by being that voice of kindness, not that voice of criticism, but that person that kind of like encourages you to continue to reach for the stars, to continue to grow outside of your comfort zone, continue to reach for more than what you currently have going on or that you've been told by the world you need to settle for. This person, it feels like they're a very like determined and ambitious person, and they also sense that you match that frequency or vibration. Even if kind of your lifestyles are very different or you have different things going on professionally, they see that kind of like kindred spirit energy. It's like I see that same hunger in your eyes that I have in my eyes, and so I anticipate that, if we can kind of like give each other enough space to sort of focusing on cultivating what's best for each of us, that we can find more common ground with one another where there's truly like a successful partnership. Not just it works out well in love, but that we can bring energies and experiences into one another's lives that just help to enhance that kind of level of success we're trying to create for ourselves in other ways in our life. We also have the Six of Swords. So this person thinks that your ideas are very brilliant. The way that you express yourself is brilliant. You may be somebody that, you're not kind of like long-winded. You're not going to fill the space with a lot of empty words, but you get right to the point. You ask very poignant questions. You have really good insights. This person really trusts your emotional development as well. They trust that you are kind of like empowered enough or self-aware enough that you will make your needs known. This is something where they might almost have kind of one of their hangups from the past could have been like a circumstance or situation where everything seemed to be going fine, and then all of a sudden it's like the person they were in a partnership with was like, yeah, I've been unhappy for years, and so I've met someone else, or I've moved on. Like they could have been dumped very abruptly. And so something that they've been seeking in the aftermath of that experience is somebody that has more of the ability to like communicate emotionally, but also in a mature kind of way. Somebody that isn't afraid to kind of like state their needs or have difficult conversations, or to really advocate for themselves and not just be kind of like a people pleaser, not just placate, the love interest or the romantic interest. And so it feels like what you've shown to this person so far in your interactions with one another is you definitely kind of like fit into that category of somebody who is not afraid to kind of speak your mind, which they find that to be a very sexy quality about you. And this is definitely somebody that would stand by you. If you were ever getting pushback from people as you were like asserting yourself out in the world, this is the type of person that would be like, you're going to tangle with the both of us. My baby says what she wants. She does what she wants, and you just have to take that. I'm not going to let you talk down. I'm not going to let you intimidate. I'm not going to let you make this person feel bad. Like that's the attitude this person has in terms of like really wanting to see you stand in the fullest expression of like who you are as a person, or like the version of them that you've demonstrated so far. So maybe you've made things kind of like tough on them. You've played hard to get, or you're not just so like easy and yielding that bare minimum has sufficed in this circumstance. And that is not something that has discouraged this person. That is something, in fact, that is like, okay, that's a really big turn on. So I can kind of like bring more to the table. And this isn't something where I feel like I'm just trying to like, feed your ego in some sort of way, but you're like a high value person. You bring a high valued experience to the table. And so it's an invitation for me to pull out all of the stops, to step into what it feels like a full kind of like provider archetype that is where this person is most comfortable, kind of embodying that energy when they are in romantic connections. In the past, it feels like they were taken advantage of. People took that generosity as, kind of like weakness, or just sort of like an endless flow of abundance, or, support, material support, encouragement, and it was kind of a strain on this person. That would be the shadow aspect of this generosity with them. But with you, there's a sense of like you can hold your own. You got enough going on in your life that they don't feel that you're just here to try to use them, or manipulate them or take advantage. This is something where they see, even if you're still in the process of kind of like building to a level of success within yourself, you have a really good head on your shoulders, and you're somebody that what you value, or what it is that you're looking for, or the experience between the two of you so far in terms of what, you've spoken of, what you've taken note of. Maybe this is somebody that's even mentioned like certain things they have going on in their life, and you didn't get all kind of like, gooey and doughy-eyed, like, wow, that's so great. You're such a superstar. You're so wonderful. It's like you just kind of brush that off, like, yeah, so tell me about your character, tell me about your values, tell me about kind of, the things that you admire, what your fears are, the things that you find beautiful in life. Like you focused on kind of like immaterial wealth. Like you're not impressed by kind of what this person has, or what they do, or like who they are. And so that's been a very positive sign for this individual, that you are a person of integrity that they are wanting to move forward with in a romantic connection, because there's a real chance of having like a genuine loving experience, rather than something where they just kind of feel that they are wanted for like their assets, or kind of what they have, or even that sort of like provider archetype that could even just be in the form of like moral support, where that might have even been something where this person could have really like opened doors for past partners, helped to kind of lift past partners up into becoming better versions of themselves, or successful versions of themselves, and then they were kind of left by the wayside. They were treated just as like a rung on a ladder to success that somebody else kind of climbed over to move on with their life in other directions. And so they've had that kind of like thing that they want to avoid. They want to avoid like an experience like that again. That was kind of one of the items on their list of sort of what they were looking for in terms of the next person that they would love, the next person that they would enter into a partnership with. And so you have satisfied that kind of questioning within them, just in who you are very naturally, that to move forward into an experience with you, even if it, you know, would involve kind of this person tapping into that very natural essence to provide, to uplift, to support, to encourage, that this is something that you would appreciate, that there would be gratitude on your end, rather than something where you'd be like taking advantage of this person. We also have the Two of Wands. So it feels like this is somebody that is really eager to kind of like take the next step with you. They're waiting for you to give them a sign that it's like okay to approach. It's okay to enter. It's okay to, you know, kind of add a little more passion, add a little more spiciness into this connection. But this is definitely somebody that values kind of like experiences. Like at this point in their life, they're not just looking for someone that they can have like a frisky weekend with. They're not just looking for someone, you know, to get into like a situationship with, you know, or to have a fling with. It's almost like they've outgrown that version of themselves that would have been satisfied or stimulated just by those things, or their ego would have felt very fulfilled by those things. This is somebody that is at a point in their life where they're looking for quality experiences, you know, as opposed to like quantity. And so again, if they'd had kind of like other people that they were in sort of like talking stages with, they were getting to know, those doors have closed since you've come into their life, or since things have kind of like reached the current level of where they are with one another. This person really like sees, hey, you're a quality person that can bring that experience, or that I'm creating that experience with in real time, that can lead to something lasting and long term, where I'm not just going to probably feel like, hey, that was a waste of my time, or gee, I was being used, or something like that. But this is an experience where it's like, I think that we are very like-minded, our goals combine very well. I find you very interesting. I like your vibe. I like your maturity. I like the way that you communicate, that you express yourself. I like your priorities. I like what you have going on in your life. And I think that it blends very well, even if it's very different from like what I have going on in my life. But I think that this is a circumstance that I'd like to see if we can make this work. We also have the Queen of Pentacles, so they definitely see you as like a good investment of their time, a good investment of that kind of like provider archetype, you know, to kind of like step up to the plate. What do you need me to do? How can I help? Is there any like words of encouragement that I can give you? Words of advice? Is there anybody that I know in my personal life that might be able to kind of help you with certain things, or might be a good resource or a good reference? You know, might be something that kind of brings a new kind of perspective to the table for anything you're working on professionally, any dreams and goals, or like long-term things that you've even talked about with this person, like, yeah, someday I'd like to do this, or, you know, I've got my ordinary job, I got my 9 to 5, but then I'm like working on this other thing, or I got this side hustle, you know, whatever it is that you've kind of like talked to about this person, or they're aware of. This is kind of the sense of like they are sort of thinking, you know, after hours, they're sort of, the wheels are turning, their mental wheels are kind of turning at this point, like, what are some ways that I can help to show my kind of solidarity with this person, that I can help show my support, that I can help kind of, you know, encourage you to, again, like, spread your wings and fly. This is somebody that does not want to be like an intrusive presence in your life. That might be the other thing, as far as like, you know, kind of waiting for you to sort of give signs and indicators about, okay, what's the pace here between us? What's the tone? What's the tempo? Where do we go next in this situation? You know, because they might almost have experiences with people in the past where they had like lost themselves in the momentum of the connection, or something where they kind of, you know, there might have been an experience with someone, and then that person got off track with other goals that they had going on, like the other person sort of lost themselves in the connection. So this is somebody that doesn't want to kind of like derail your plans in any sort of way. They don't want to be somebody that like takes up too much of your time, or you know, it's almost like they're trying to kind of like, they've got their own emotional needs, but they're trying to kind of like put those in perspective in terms of like, I got all this excitement, all this enthusiasm, you know, about what can happen between us, but I also see that there's like an opportunity right now. So a lot of you may have something particular that you're working on at this point, that you talk to this person about, that you're trying to like accomplish, you're trying to get something going, you know, or you've just stepped into something very exciting, you just started something very exciting as far as like career, abundance, finance, you know, aligning with your life purpose, some kind of goals and dreams, where this is somebody that's kind of like, okay, love has arrived for the two of us at this particular point in time, and I don't want to like put your material goals or my material goals ahead of matters of the heart. But I also want to make sure that one of the ways that I can demonstrate sort of my potential as a partner, like ways in which I'm a really solid person within partnerships, is by kind of like putting my own sort of desires and attractions and emotional needs, not allowing those to dictate kind of the terms of, okay, let's just push this forward, let's just dive in head first, let's just kind of like spend all of this time with one another and get kind of, you know, lost in our heads and, you know, fantasizing and, you know, falling into this kind of maybe toxic experience of attraction or connection or romance. Like, let's put the brakes on in some sort of way, or almost like this person sort of exercising self-restraint at this point, because they might almost sense kind of like the good parts can wait between the two of us, but at this particular point in time, there's a window of opportunity for me to kind of demonstrate this quality in terms of like stable, reliable person, because it's important for me to like see you feel good about yourself, to see you succeed, to see you shining very bright, you know, and so I want to kind of like be able to showcase that element of the ways in which I give affection, to be that support system, to be that one that kind of like holds space so that you can kind of talk things through, talk things out, share that excitement, share those ideas, share the adventure of whatever it is you're trying to like create or you know, improve upon at this particular point in time. And again, in whatever ways that this person can kind of like help or even just hold space for you as you're kind of like helping yourself, that is something that they feel like that is sort of like top priority, that takes precedence. But they're definitely open for you, kind of like if you feel that it isn't sort of like too much, or like you'd have too much on your plate, or it's too much of a distraction. This is definitely somebody, you know, that is open to kind of like evolving things more romantically between the two of you, but they want to make sure that you also see them not just as somebody who's like here for a good time, but this is somebody that wants to be in your life for a long time. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you would like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.